Guys, this is Brian. Today I'm going to be applying Hydretain to my lawn. The vast majority of you, anyone watching this video, probably already uses Hydretain in your lawns, or at least you're greatly considering it. You probably know the benefits of it already. I've personally been using Hydretain in my lawn for the last few seasons, and this season is going to be no different. But the reason we put down Hydretain is to retain water, moisture in the soil, so that our root zone doesn't dry out as fast during the hottest, driest parts of the year. Because that's the purpose of the product. I actually want to improve on that effect by adding a few things to the tank. If I'm planning on loading up some Hydretain and spraying it on the lawn so that my grass doesn't dry out and so that I don't have to water my grass as often throughout the hottest months of the year, I might as well put some other things in there that do the exact same thing. So as you see behind me here, I got my brand new two gallon pump sprayer. No need to get like crazy fancy here. Little pump sprayers are cheap and easy to afford, and you can buy them at any store pretty much. And they hold more than a hose end sprayer. So the reason I'm using that instead of a hose end sprayer is so that I can actually mix multiple things into the tank. So I'm going to be adding some liquid humic acid. I tend to add humic acid pretty much every time I fertilize the lawn. These days I've been using a lot of granular humic acids, especially after I core aerate the lawn. I can actually get the granulars to go into the holes along with some biochar. But for the purpose of getting stuff down into the root zone quickly, I need to use a liquid. So I'm pulling out my next Humic 12 product, which I haven't used in a long time. It's going to fit the bill just fine. You could go to any garden store in your town and you're going to find liquid humic acid. The brand basically doesn't matter. So long as it's liquid, you can stick it in that tank and spray it down onto the lawn. The reason we're putting down humic acid with the Hydretain, there's so many cars driving by. The reason we're putting down humic acid with the Hydretain is because the Hydretain is going to keep the moisture in the root zone of the soil, but the humic acid is actually going to help your grass uptake the water and the nutrients a little bit more efficiently. So when the soil starts drying out and there's minimal moisture left in the soil, the humic acid actually helps your grass tap into what little moisture might still be there. Now the third thing I'm going to mix into the tank, which is the last thing that I'm going to mix in there, is soluble mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza is a beneficial fungi, and it does not do anything to your grass. It's not a nutrient, doesn't do anything to the soil either. However, when it gets down into the root zone, it colonizes and it starts growing, latching onto the root systems below the ground. It forms a network that goes deeper in the ground than your root systems can go. It forms a symbiotic relationship with your plants, so your plants photosynthesize and give energy to the fungi. And the fungi, because they stretch so far deeper into the ground, into microscopic pores, they can actually take water and bring them up and give them to the plant. Because if it doesn't give it to the plant, then the plant dies and it can't give it energy that it creates from sunlight. It's like a super friendship. So essentially all three of these things work together and in different ways to give our grass plants, our lawn, the moisture it needs to stay green and growing even when it's hot and dry out. I don't want to water that lawn any more often than I have to. Last points here that I want to touch on before I actually make my application. I'm sure you've probably seen me doing this application throughout this entire monologue. But for Hydretain to work its best, you want to apply it to a wet soil. So I've actually already watered my lawn this morning. I watered my lawn to get everything nice and wet. And then once I load everything into the tank, then I can go and spray it all over the lawn. And because Hydretain contains surfactant in it already, it's just part of the product, it's going to penetrate the lawn and go down fairly quickly, especially if that lawn is already moist. Everything else in the tank, the humic acid and the mycorrhiza, only works once it's down in the soil. None of this stuff does any good if it's sitting on top of the soil or sitting on the leaf blades. So once everything has been applied, then I'm going to go and kick the sprinklers on one more time. But this time it's not going to be a full deep watering session. I'm just going to water about 1/10 of an inch so that the products get off of the leaf tissues into the soil and start working their way down. Now with Hydretain in particular, you want to put at least 15 parts water to 1 part Hydretain into your tank, which is why you kind of need a bigger tank. I'm using a 2-gallon tank. I'm only going to be doing about 1,000 square feet here. With the Humic 12, the liquid humic acid product that I'm putting down, it's a minimum 7-to-1 ratio. So long as I'm putting at least 15 parts of water to 1 part of humic, I'm going to be fine. Depending on what liquid humic acid you use, you want to check that ratio, but usually 15-to-1 is going to be pretty fine for humic acids. Mycorrhizae, I don't know what the ratio is, but 15-to-1 is still pretty good. Think about it like this: 1 gallon is 128 ounces of water. So for every ounce of product I'm putting in, I need to have 15 ounces of water. But that's it. This is my recipe for improving Hydretain. Hydretain is a fantastic product all on its own. These other additives to it just make it work better and make my lawn perform better under lower levels of moisture input, whether it be from the sky or from my irrigation system. Now with that said, for those of you on the fence who've never tried Hydretain before, I do have a video about why we use it, since I'm not really going into the depths or the detail as to why this is important for me and for other people in my position. So watch this video right up here. This is my soft sales pitch for Hydretain. It's not necessarily about selling a product. It's about a solution to a problem that most people have. Most people want to have a green lawn. Most people don't want to have to water the lawn nearly as much or pay for that water.